So of course, when I got to med school and I'm sitting there like, bro, this don't interest me. Like, one thing that I did learn about God is that he will give you a passion for your purpose. A year and a half later, I'm literally living in what I used to daydream about.
Beautiful painter, I love the way you painted the sky tonight. Beautiful savior, come have your way in me, you're my one desire.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another day of Vlogmas. Guys, we are almost done. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 3 signs that let me know that leaving med school was the right decision. I have been looking back at my old videos recently, just trying to get more ideas for Vlogmas because I was kind of running out. That's why we're doing a lot of sit down videos. But I was looking at my leaving med school video, the original one that I posted in like June or something of 2022, I believe, and I was seeing a lot of comments of people saying like, how did you know you needed to leave? Like, how am I supposed to know that I need to leave? A lot of people like me in that video in the comments were struggling with big decisions, whether it came with your education or just anything, and a lot of people were like stumped about how am I supposed to know this is the right thing for me. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 3 signs that let me know that leaving med school was the right decision. Now, to be honest, these signs weren't clear to me while I was making the decision, but, you know, looking back like a year later, these things were like, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why I left. Yeah, I was feeling this, so that's why I needed to go. Hopefully by me pointing these things out to you now, you can kind of maybe see, oh yeah, that does relate to me. That's true about me. I didn't realize that, or I never would have known that if she didn't point it out. And hopefully that can help you kind of to navigate whether you should leave somewhere or go somewhere or stay somewhere or anything. This video is really just to like kind of show y'all how to know what decisions you should be making when it comes to your life, and making sure you're not making the wrong ones, and making sure you're not doing something that God doesn't have his hands on, and all that good stuff. So before we get started, make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, put your notifications on so you don't miss any uploads. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram for daily content, and check out my hair care line if you're interested in getting some products to help promote growth. Alright guys, let's get started. Okay, so quick little 60-second background, probably not 60 seconds, about me leaving med school. If you want the full deets, you can watch my leaving med school video. I also made another video earlier this year of like my 1-year update since leaving early this summer. Basically, I was a med student from the fall of 2021 through the spring of 2022. I did 1 full year and then I left in 2022, and it's been about a year and a half since I left. I don't regret it. I talked about that in my update video that I made. Best decision of my life. Making that decision was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done because it was just tough trying to figure out whether I was doing the right thing or not. So one thing that was a sign that I needed to leave med school was that I had no genuine true passion for being a doctor. But the thing is, I did not know that I did not have a passion for being a doctor because I did not understand that there's a difference between having an interest in something and having a passion for something. Like, just because you have an interest in something doesn't mean that you want to do that for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you want to dedicate 8 years of education to pursuing that interest, right? That doesn't equal passion. But the thing is, I didn't understand or discover my passion until I was in med school, or right before med school when I started social media and eventually started my business. So I didn't understand that the way I was feeling about med school was not the way I should have been feeling about med school. This lack of passion was honestly demonstrated in a lot of ways in my life, especially leading up to med school. So for example, I never even wanted to be a doctor until senior year of high school. And that was just because it was so weird. No matter, I was a very smart person. I'm gonna give myself a high five on that. I graduated like 4th in my class with a 4.3 GPA. I did not make my first B until my sophomore year of college. So all throughout school, all I made was straight A's. Like, I was on one. I was really smart. I loved to read, everything. But for some reason, I never had like a career that I genuinely wanted to do. When I was little, I did have a point where I was like, oh, I want to be a pastry chef, right? Because I just like to bake, and I think that had to do with the science of it. But then my dad was like, you know, pastry chefs don't make a lot of money. I was like, you're right, I want to make a lot of money. So I was like, nah, I don't want to be a pastry chef. But then, you know, and there was a point where I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a chemist. But I was never really like set on like what I wanted to do with my life. Like, you know how some people, like, from the time they're little, they're like, I want to be a doctor, and that's all they want to do. I never had that. And that doesn't mean like you can't be passionate about something later on when you discover it. But for me, I just felt like that was like weird. The fact that, I'll be honest with y'all, the only reason I decided to be a doctor was because I knew the only subject in school that I didn't hate was science. I didn't love science, but I mean, it was interesting, and I like doing the experiments and stuff like that. And at the time, I talk about this a lot, I was watching a lot of Grey's Anatomy, and the drama of the show looked cool, and they just made it look cool. Grey's Anatomy is nowhere near like real life, especially when it comes to surgeries. They be very plain with that, right? It's a lot more intense in person. But I was like, you know what? I'm interested in science. What's a career that I can do that involves science that I can make a lot of money in? And that's what I did. And, you know, that just kind of fit, I guess. Like, this smart person, me getting a 4.3 in high school and loving to read and being super intellectual, it makes sense that I would have a career that society deemed as fitting. So, doctor or a lawyer or whatever, you know, something like that. So, I was like, you know what? Let me go to med school. Sounds good. Sounds like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And, yeah, so that's what I decided. And I remember I did this internship my senior year of high school, and it's just like, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't enjoy it. Like I said, I was confusing interest with passion. Like, it was cool to see, you know, people doing x-rays, and it was cool to see, you know, the heart cath lab and stuff like that. But I was thinking in my head, I don't see myself being able to do this every single day. And I think that's why I settled on having an interest in either emergency medicine or surgery, because it was something different and exciting every single day. So you weren't doing the same thing. And then when I went to college, the lack of passion really showed with the fact that I didn't do anything pre-med at all in college. I wasn't a part of any pre-med extracurriculars. The only thing that I did pre-med was just make sure I took all my classes. That's really it. Like, I didn't know anything about the application process, y'all. I didn't even start looking at the applications of stuff until the semester before I needed to apply. And that was only because I didn't even know I was going to graduate in 3 years until the last semester of school. And so I was like, oh crap, I thought I had another year, but I don't. Let me figure it out. And because of that, there was something that I actually needed. It was like a letter of recommendation packet that I needed to apply for like 4 months before I started looking at the application. So I didn't have that. And my application was super rushed. I didn't do any internships in college. Like, I didn't care about having a good application, which is weird for me because in school, in high school and in, you know, middle school and stuff, I cared about being the best, having the most. I was the president of every single club. I had some sort of, I didn't really do none of that in college to get the best, you know, application I could. The MCAT, I didn't even start studying for the MCAT until maybe a month before I had to take it, maybe 6 weeks before I had to take it. Like, so I just did not display any passion. And so, of course, when I got to med school and I'm sitting there like, bro, this don't interest me. Like, I was like, bro, this is not. And then, of course, so that makes sense when I got to med school and I was struggling because I wasn't passionate. See, a lot of people in med school will tell you, yeah, you barely have any time for yourself. Your mental health is shot. You have so much work to do, so much studying. You study, you know, 10, 12 hours a day. But they'll tell you that despite all that, they love what they're learning. Even though, you know, clinicals and stuff is exhausting and internships are exhausting and residency is exhausting, they love working with patients. They love being able to actually practice in their field. They love what they're doing even if they don't like all the time every single aspect of it. Me, I hated everything. You know, our first year of med school, we had this lab that we would do like once a month where we get to go and work on dummies and learn how to take blood pressure and do, you know, the heart with the stethoscope and stuff. And for a lot of people, that was like their most exciting part of med school because that was the only really interaction we got with like patients. I didn't like it. I hated it. Anatomy lab where you working on the cadaver. What? Puke. I gotta do a story time on that. That was just so gross. But basically, I'm saying all that to say, like, once I got into med school, I feel like my interest for it faded. Because you know how sometimes you'll be interested in something for a little bit and then you kind of move on? That's kind of what happened. So I was interested for a bit and then it went away and there was no passion, so I was just miserable. I hated what I was learning. I hated what I was doing. I did not like it. And the only thing that was in the back of my head was like, I'm going to make a lot of money. So yeah, that was a clear sign that I needed to leave. I did not have any genuine passion. One thing that I did learn about God is that He will give you a passion for your purpose. He's not going to make your purpose something that you hate doing. He's not going to make what he's called you to do something that you have no interest in, something that you do not enjoy, something that you do not like. And then just one more thing regarding the passion. So like I said, I didn't understand that I was confusing interest with passion because I didn't have any like career or field that I ever was passionate about. And then once I started social media and once I started my business, I understood what it felt like to be passionate about something, to enjoy doing something that still made you money and provided an income. And so once I kind of saw the huge gap between how I felt about influencing in social media and how I felt about in my business and then how I felt about med school, I realized, hey, something's not right. I shouldn't enjoy my side hobby more than I enjoy what's supposed to be my career for the rest of my life. So yeah, that was a whole little caveat thing. And that's a big reason why when people say, why couldn't you just do all three? You could have done all three. I get so annoyed because I'm like, what's the point of me doing something else in my life that I don't love and I don't enjoy and I'm not passionate about? Especially something that costs like $100,000 to finish the rest of the 3 years. Why would I do that? It's not that I couldn't do both. I just realized there's no point in doing both if I'm not passionate about both. Like, that's just so weird to me. If I kept being in med school, it would be to please other people. It wouldn't be to satisfy anything in myself that I felt like I needed from med school. So yeah, that's why when people say, why couldn't you just done both? I was doing both, and I realized that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So yeah. So passion was the first sign. The second sign was the growth of my business and the growth of my social media. So this should have been honestly the first like red flag for me. Whenever I was headed to med school, so I started social media in January of 2021. I went to med school in the fall of 2021, and I started my business in June of 2021. So I started my business and I started social media a couple months before I started med school, right? And I remember my dad was like, hey, I know you're doing social media and stuff and the business thing, but just so you know, you might want to chill out on it a little bit, you know, take a break so you can focus on your, you know, your career. And I remember in my head being like, yeah, that makes sense. Yes, sir, I got it. But I was like, I'm going to figure out a way to do both because I don't want to give up social media and I don't want to give up my business. I love it too much. So that should have been a red flag right there. The fact that I wasn't willing to just stop social media or, you know, stop being super consistent with it to like focus more on med school. You know, you would think that with me having less time to dedicate to social media and to my business, that those things would start to fall off. But I grew so much. Like, I hit 1 million followers my first semester on TikTok. Like, somehow I was able to still post like almost every single day on social media. I started growing an Instagram. By the time that I started med school, I had like 10,000 followers on my personal Instagram. The first time I ever introduced my products, they sold out within like, I think, minutes. With my business, I told y'all so many times, I only could do it once a month. That's the only time I had to sit there and make products. So every single weekend after I took my exams, we'd have a free weekend before we started the new round of learning for our next exams. And that weekend, I would stay up like 48 hours, make like 600-700 hair butters, and then they will be all gone within the next week. And I'm telling you, I was making 5 figures a month just by doing that, you know, a couple days of the month. And it just kept growing. My YouTube channel got all the way up to like 15-20K on YouTube. It was supernatural growth. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, you could tell it was growth that wasn't happening from my own efforts. It was growth that was happening because God decided, hey, this is what I want to happen with your platform, so what I want to happen with your business. And so that supernatural growth was kind of a clear sign of like, hey, I feel like God's trying to tell me that I could be successful in this. Doing this is something that I enjoy and I love and I'm passionate about. Still a lot of work, but I love it, so it's not that deep. But you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like God was showing me that, like, he's giving me a unique opportunity. I feel like that supernatural growth that I got from my business and my social media was just a sign that, like, girl, why are you struggling and stressing doing this in med school when you can be just as successful doing what you love? And of course, I mean, when I was deciding to leave med school and struggling with that decision, part of me was like, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if it's only good now because I'm only in stock once a month? So that anticipation is what makes people buy my stuff. What happens when I'm selling stuff full time? They're not going to want to buy it. You know, I have, you know, followers now, but what if I don't gain any followers when I leave and all that type of stuff? So, like, there was those things running in my head, but at the end of the day, I was like, I think God really helped me grow supernaturally because he knows that I'm a logical person. So if I logically can't see that this can be successful, then I'm not going to do it. Because I'm the type of person, I have faith, But I still have to work on complete blind faith. I'm talking like trusting God when the situation looked opposite. And I feel like God knew that I was not ready to have blind faith. So he gave me a little bit of a test of what was going to happen in the future if I decided to make this decision. He helped me to see that like my business has the potential to grow really big. That my social media career has the potential to go really big. Now, I never thought that a year later I would have as many followers as I have now. I never thought I'd be making as much money as I make now. I never thought I'd be in Atlanta. I deep down had a feeling that like I was gonna be okay based on what God was showing me with this growth. So yeah, second point, that supernatural growth of my business and of social media. And so for if you're watching, you being successful in your passion or your hobby, that might be a sign that that's something you might need to do full time. Now, some people, they do it on blind faith. Their side hobbies or whatever are not working at all, but they're like, look, I'm not doing this, I'm gonna do this, and it works. That's fine, but I'm just telling y'all, for me, that was a sign. And so the last thing, and probably the most important sign that let me know leaving medical school was the right decision, was godly confirmation. One of my biggest fears is doing something and not having God's hand on it. And that's especially true now when it comes to me really making moves to grow my business ginormously. If that's a word, that's going to be a lot of money that I'm going to be handling, a lot of people that I'm handling, a huge reputation. I don't want to mess it up. I'm really big, I'm very cautious and really big on making sure that the decisions I make in life, especially the really big decisions, are ones that I clearly know God has his hand on. I talked about this in my leaving med school video about how I always had like a feeling that it was the right decision, like deep down in my gut. You know, that it was a good thing for me to leave. But for further confirmation, I decided to do a fast. I did a 6-week fast where I had no meat and no secular music. And it was March 17th, 2022. I was watching a sermon. This was during COVID, and I didn't really go to church during med school. I would watch sermons. That's probably another reason why I should have left. But I was watching a sermon, watching a Michael Todd sermon, funny enough. And I don't remember what the sermon was, but I just remember after I finished watching it, I just heard, I wouldn't say I heard a voice, but I just felt the words, do it, leave. And that was confirmation for me. And then it's like, after that, every step along the way worked out. So I actually didn't officially like call the people and say, hey, I want to leave until June or maybe the beginning of July. But I was set on leaving in March after I got that confirmation. And so the next like 6 to 8 weeks before I actually called the people, I just started seeing stuff fall into place to further kind of confirm the already confirmation that I got. One of the things was I was living with my sister during med school, and we were living on campus housing. So if I left, that means that I would have to get my own apartment. And so the thing is, I actually moved at the very end of March, so like a week and a half later I moved. But the thing was, my parents did not want me to move. They didn't know I was trying to leave med school, but my dad really did not want me to move. Like, he freaked out like really bad. I did not have credit, and I remember that I did not want my dad to have to co-sign the apartment because number one, I wanted to do this independently, but number two, I didn't want him co-signing something that he didn't agree with, right? That's kind of messed up to me. And so I remember, and I knew I wanted to move in January. That's another sign of confirmation. I wanted to move in January because me and my sister living together, which is not good for either of us. I didn't know later on that that was a good decision because I was gonna leave and I couldn't like live on campus anymore. But so in like February, I applied for a credit card, got a credit card, and I used it for about 6 weeks, I want to say. And I was scared that I wasn't going to have a credit score in time to apply for the apartment. Tell me why, literally, like the day before, like a few days before I went and toured the apartment that I lived in New Orleans, my first place, I got a credit score. And then I toured the apartment and they approved me. Like the same day they approved me. Like I only had credit for like a month and they approved me. And so that was confirmation as well. And so I got my new place. And I got my space to really like kind of discover who I am in this new phase in my life. Further confirmation would be whenever I finished my last exam for med school, I walked out of the building and I felt free. I said this in that video. I felt super light. I just felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And I was just like smiling the whole way home. Like I just felt so good. So that was another sign of confirmation. And then of course, after I left med school, the first month or so was hard, but then I started getting more confirmation when like literally all my platforms blew up. Like I'm talking like I gained like 50,000 followers on Instagram. When I left med school, I think I had, like I said, I had like 20K YouTube subscribers, and now look how many we have. We're definitely gonna hit 500,000 by the end of January. So, you know, it was just confirmation and all those things. Like, each step along the way, God slowly but surely revealed to me that I was doing what I needed to do. If you're struggling with trying to understand whether God is saying yes or not, the biggest advice I would give is just clear out any worldly distractions and just focus on God for as long as you need to get your answer. And that's why I would recommend a fast. That was actually the first genuine fast I ever did. And now I love fasting, because if I'm confused, overwhelmed, whatever, I get rid of social media, or I get rid of certain foods, or I just do whatever to kind of help me put my mind more on Christ to be able to get what I need. So yeah, so that godly confirmation, I'm telling you, like, that's a big one. Like, I'm saying all this now and I'm acting like it was super clear and like, yeah, that was just easy. No, it was really hard, and everything wasn't super clear at times. I feel like the biggest thing that helped was that deep down gut feeling. Like, I remember I used to daydream about what my life would look like if I don't want to cry. What I would look like if I was a full-time influencer and a full-time business owner. I used to think I could have so much money and I could have a nice place, and I don't have to worry about studying all the time and doing this and doing that. And a year and a half later, I'm literally living in what I used to daydream about. Like, nothing but God. Like, I'm not trying to turn this into a testimony, but honestly, but God. Like, I can't even say nothing else. And it's just crazy, because if you would have told me like 3 years ago, if you would have told me this was my life, I still to this day, that's what I'm saying, that supernatural growth, I still to this day don't understand how my first viral video went viral. I was playing around, y'all, and it led to all this. So God is just good. Alright, y'all, that's it for this video. Those are 3 signs that helped me to realize that leaving med school was a good decision. I hope this really helps you. Again, I understand it's hard making a big decision in life, and I understand sometimes there's a lot of things going on, a lot of noise, a lot of people in our ear, and situations that make it seem like it's hard to understand what God is saying and if he's saying yes or no. So hopefully this video helped you. Hopefully my story, my journey can encourage you to know that if you just honestly just seeking God and trying to do his will, everything's gonna work out. You're not gonna be led astray. So yeah. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button, put your notifications on so you don't miss any uploads. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram for daily content, and check out my hair care line if you're interested in getting some products to help promote growth. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Beautiful painter, I love the way you painted the sky tonight. Beautiful savior.